It is week 2 of our series on potty training, with this week all about tips and tricks you need to get started with your little one.
In case this is your first time meeting us, I'm Sarah, a board-certified OBGYN.
I'm Kurt, a board-certified pediatrician.
And we are the Doctors Bjorkman. Welcome back. As Kurt mentioned, this week is again all about potty training and specifically how to actually start the process. Last week we talked about how young children can really get the hang of potty training and the signs to look for that your child and you are ready to begin the potty training journey. If you missed it, go back and check that out now.
Yeah, and for those of you who feel like you and your little one are ready, this week we're going to share our list of things you need to get started. We're going to cover the steps to actually getting started, and then also touch on a few common, unique situations and challenges that many people face along the way. Now, if you're looking for another resource to kind of follow a lot of what we're going to detail here, we did really like the book, Oh Crap Potty Training. It's got a lot of great resources and is very similar to what we're going to outline today. We'll link that here for you as well.
In the last episode, we touched on a few of the things you need to get started with potty training, but we want to revisit that here because being prepared is so important.
Yeah. Now, the obvious thing you are going to need is a good potty that's going to work for your little one and your environment. And we shared last week that we love this Bjorn Smart Potty for at home and on the go, but also love having kind of a different potty training toilet seat with like a step stool ladder to help prepare for more independent potty breaks as the time comes.
Yes. We also mentioned the benefit of having a minimum of 3 days of concentrated time of being home with limited distractions and outing, where your main focus is going to be making sure your kiddo's little butt makes it onto the potty for their pees and poop. We're going to be talking more about this step later, so stay tuned.
Yeah. Now, we also mentioned making sure that your support team and your environment are going to be on board with you starting this potty training journey. This means making sure to check in with your child care team about your plans to start potty training before you get started to know what they are going to need from you.
Yes. And the final, most important thing that you need to get started is a positive and no stress attitude and commitment to continue. This is going to take some time. There are going to be accidents around your house, in your kiddo's pants, in the car seat when you are out and about. Be prepared physically and mentally. Otherwise, it can be a bit of a crappy situation.
So after last week's episode and all about like how do you know your child is ready, like the things that we actually looked like for our kids, you know, we did our potty training well before turning 2 for both of our kiddos. You know what? It was a lot of that like 2-word phrases and like, you know, some interest in the potty for our son Bo. Like he just like really kind of seemed like he was ready. I don't know.
Yeah, he would tell us, he'd say pee, pee every time he peed in his diaper or poop, and so he was just sort of like
grabbing at the diaper.
Telling us, and I took him to his 18-month well child check, and I made this comment to our pediatrician. I said, yeah, I think maybe I'm going to potty train him this weekend. And she goes, I've never really seen an 18-month-old boy potty trained before. And I was just like
challenge accepted.
Let's try this then.
You know, but then like with our daughter, like she wasn't really showing as many of those signs, but she was about 22 months along, and we're like, hey, baby number 2 was coming. And
no, baby was here. We did it on maternity leave, so we were both home.
We're like, hey, we're both home. Let's just potty train.
Don't necessarily recommend that timing.
But it worked. Like
we were home. Like we were just going to be home.
And she was old enough, and we said, hey, like she's developmentally fine to do this. She's not 2, but she's got all the skills she needs.
Because that was the thing with Bo, was like, I was just a little reluctant because it's just a thing you gotta do. I'm like, we're giving up a weekend to like be home and do this, and it's, you know, it had been summer and fun and beautiful weather, and I'm just like, I don't want to do this. So I was like, if the weekend calls for rain, I'm doing it.
Yeah, and like you're gonna add stress to every outing you're gonna do for the next 1 to 2 months at least.
Yeah.
You know, the data about potty training early is kind of thin in terms of medical literature and research. Right. But things that, you know, if you're going to potty train earlier, it's probably going to take a little bit longer because like they just don't have the communication skills. They aren't able to like be as conscious as like a 3-year-old who like, you know, like is you're able to have a lot more conversation with.
Right, Bowie, like also he can't like pull his little pants down over his butt. You know what I mean? He's 19 months old.
But the benefit of training early is you don't get as many of those resistant behaviors too. And so like in many ways that has been awesome. Like there's some of that, but not nearly as much. So like, maybe it's
less of an opinion than
And like the biggest benefit, we're just like using way less diapers.
Yes.
Like
now it's just done.
It's
totally fine.
Okay. So anyway, you can do it.
You can totally do it. You just have to decide, like, we're doing this now. We're just committed.
Now, before we go any further into getting to the how to get started, we really want to share a couple myths and common pitfalls that many fall into. You know, knowing the places where it's easy to struggle will hopefully help you to succeed along the way.
My ability to do anything challenging is always helped by knowing what to expect and how long it's going to take. So this brings us to the first myth. Many popular potty training guides out there say, hey, you can potty train in 3 days.
Not true.
That is a myth. Yes. We're going to talk a lot this week about the importance of this, 3-day intensive kickoff weekend to getting started to really like build those connections. But in no way is that 3-day period the end of training. Getting through that first weekend is really kind of the end of the beginning. You are going to be laying the groundwork for positive weeks to come as your little one is going to need lots of practice solidifying what they are learning about their body sensations that it needs to go, learning the next steps to make it to the potty, and then learning how to get that pee and poop actually in the potty.
Yeah, that is 100% correct. That first weekend is all about just getting started. And there are going to be accidents. It was so helpful for us to be actually just prepared for those accidents. We got ourselves ready for this by really trying to just spend as much time in playtime on hard surfaces in our house instead of on the carpet. You know, we had our little potty out in the main room with us to make it easier to get to the potty. And we had our minds and attitudes just in the right space to anticipate cleaning up an unpleasant stain or two.
Yes, accidents will happen, and not just in that first weekend. Rarely, if ever, does anyone learn a new skill and then never make a mistake after that. So there's no reason to think potty training your kiddo would be any different. Even in the weeks and months after getting started, an accident is likely going to happen. So just be prepared with that positive attitude and also an extra set of clothes or two when you go out and about.
Now, another common pitfall, especially for any of you type A parents out there like us, is going to be that you're going to try to force success on your little one. Now, there are most certainly have been some forceful techniques used in the past for early potty training, but the goal here is your child building autonomy with their bodies through positive experiences. Now, we've heard from so many parents recently who've had different struggles with resistance or other challenging behaviors around their kiddos using the potty. That is okay. These things happen, and as much as you're able, stay positive. If your kiddo is consistently fighting the potty, maybe it could be that they aren't quite ready. You could try taking a break, try again in a month or so when they're showing more interest. But as we shared last week, historically, most kids were successfully potty trained before 1 year of age. And so there are often many little other reasons or workarounds for that resistant behaviors. And this could be as simple as finding a more comfortable potty chair for them to use. Maybe they need more opportunities to learn, so give them more fluids during the day. Remember giving positive encouragement for those encounters with the potty, even if they aren't perfectly successful. Other things, making sure like constipation isn't an issue, or like holding practices. And then when you know your child truly has to go, there are times where you really just need to set a firm boundary that you aren't going to leave the bathroom until they go.
Yeah, and before you throw in the towel to say your kiddo needs a break, just know that for us, when going through this process with both of our kiddos, when we ran into struggles, 10 out of 10 times it was us doing something or, needing to help them in a different way. So really just make sure you kind of keep that persistent, positive, this is part of the process, we can do this attitude, and then take a step back to see what went wrong, what your kiddo needs, and don't be afraid to just consistently keep trying.
Yeah, you can do it. Okay. You're all in. You're ready to start that kickoff weekend to potty training. But what are you actually going to do? Well, the answer here is that you are going to spend your entire weekend at home. And our strategy for this was to plan back to back to back days, not just at home, but at home and mostly inside the house to be as close to the potty as possible. And all of this time was spent with our little ones naked from at least the waist down. There needs to be no hiding any of those pee or poop signals or cues. And also you want absolutely nothing in the way for when that pee and poop starts so you can get their little butt on the potty as soon as possible.
What you want to be ready for is that anytime they start to go, you want to be getting your kid on the potty in a calm but quick fashion. To do this, you just start the day crystal clear with, hey, potty training is our plan for the day. At the start of day 1, show them the potty and say, hey, this is the potty. From now on, all pee and poop goes in the potty. We are going to work on learning this together. Mommy and daddy are going to help you learn to go pee and poop on the potty like a big kid.
Yeah. And once you've got that little pregame speech down, it's go time. The rest of that first day, your job, 100% of the time, is to be ready for pee and poop.
Yep.
Now, continuing this positive messaging throughout, that all pee and poop goes in the potty. And of course, there's going to be times during the day when you're prepping a meal or doing little chores around the house, but try to make those things as limited as possible during the day. It is a bad day to bake bread, or really do anything else that takes more than maybe a quarter of your attention, because you need to be watching for those little squats or pauses or leg crossing or any other little sign that your kiddo is trying to go.
So as soon as you see one of those little potty cues, you get their little butt to the potty. Oh, I see you're going pee. Pee goes on the potty. If you miss most of their pee, get them on the potty. They might still have a little to go and surprise you. Give them a high five when they pee on the potty. When they sit on the potty, let them know you did it. This is where pee and poop goes. And then when they do pee and poop, you say, you should be so proud of yourself. If you're peeing and pooping on the potty.
Yeah. Now, this first phase, this first weekend is the naked phase, right? You're helping your little one go from that, they don't even have a clue they've peed or pooped, to oh, I just peed or pooped. And then all of a sudden, that light bulb starts going on, and oh, I'm peeing and pooping. And finally, that gosh, I realize that I need to go pee and poop.
The connection.
And, this is something that we've borrowed from the Oh Crap potty training book that was just so helpful for us to realize, oh, what is going on in their little minds over these first couple days.
Yep.
The goal of this naked phase is that so by the end of day 2 into day 3, almost all, if not all, of the pee and poop is going in the potty.
And one quick tip for this stage is do not ask if they need to go. You can prompt them saying, it's time to go to the potty, but do not ask. You are helping them learn their body signals. Again, going from that no clue to I need to go. And a lot of time asking, do you need to pee? Do you need to go to the potty? Builds resistance, and we want to avoid that. Keys to success at the very beginning, especially in the beginning, I think are so much parent, caregiver dependent.
You're training yourself.
Yes, and you just have to watch them like a hawk, because the second you start doing something else, they're going to pee on the floor.
Or they'll be for cease, going poop on their own and smearing it places.
Yes. So I at the beginning, it's on you. It is on you. They don't realize they're supposed to go on the potty. They don't know it. And so when they start to pee, you have to put them on the potty. You are showing them pee and poop goes on the potty. Oh, you're peeing. Pee and poop goes on the potty. Oh, you're starting to squat and poop right there. Poop goes on the potty. It's all about you catching them and getting them to do it so they can make
They
this
learn that connection.
Yeah. Yes. With Bo, things had been going great. He was peeing and pooping on the potty, and I decided I should bake a loaf of bread. Not the day. And I looked over, I was cleaning up lunch, and oh, there is a turd on the floor. Yeah. So
It was Bo's.
Yeah. So if you have a teammate, it's nice to do it that weekend. Kurt was on call, and I was let's just get this done. So anyway, that is certainly a pro tip.
100% of the time, paying attention to your little one.
Yes. One other thing for that first weekend of when you are at home, this is what we're doing. We're trying to help them make this connection. is letting them drink extra fluids.
Oh yeah, like great weekend for juice. Like,
Yes, like watered down orange juice, whatever their favorite beverage is, giving that, like in the morning when you start this, let them drink some extra juice.
you want to have lots of opportunities
Yes.
for them to be going to the bathroom, so that it's
Right.
just like every time they're peeing is an opportunity for them to learn that, oh, I'm peeing, this goes in the potty.
Yes, and so making sure that they're super overhydrated gives you those opportunities.
Now, hopefully by the time your first weekend is ending, maybe day 3 or shortly thereafter, your child's really made that connection, getting to the next stage where they're starting to realize that they need to go pee and poop, and that pee and poop has to go in the potty. Thus begins the commando phase, which is really just continuing a positive environment where there's as little as possible between your child's butt and the potty. But as you're wanting to start to maybe go out in public a little bit, they're gonna need to have some pants on.
They do. For most kiddos, having underwear on at this still very early stage feels too much like wearing a diaper. It's just that tight, feels like a diaper. It's okay to pee in this. So it can be kind of triggering. So that is why we say, hey, try to do loose fitting pants. Also, easy access to get them back on the potty.
Yeah. And outings during this free balling phase, or whatever female alternative you want to use, are really best kept short, such as walks around the block. But invariably, you need to be getting back to doing normal life. So for us, we just ended up taking that little potty with us wherever we went.
Yep. Phase 3 of this process is where you start to take real outings and getting back to your real life. So your child needs to learn to pee and poop in other settings.
Yeah. Now, for us, we've had a lot of success just taking our little potty from home on the go, which takes a lot of that fear of strange potties and strange places out of the equation, which for us has helped immensely.
Indeed. But you may not always have the option of having your little potty from home with you, and as it turns out, this phase is also where you might run into some challenges, like having a hard time getting your child to pull away from something fun. If there is a time where you might be tempted to throw in the towel, this might be it, but for most, this is exactly where you really need to push through. Remember, you're positive. This is part of the process, no stress attitude that we have talked so much about, and this is one of the times where you think about using some calm but firm boundaries for those times when you know they really need to go, but they're resisting just to resist. So if you throw in the towel here, it is as likely you will face a similar challenge in the future, but with a bigger toddler.
Yeah, this transition to like starting to leave the house is really, again, just pushing you as a care provider to say, hey, we have to be accepting that we're gonna maybe have an accident, maybe there's a mess, have some extra clothes, and be ready to roll with it, while also like prompting to go to potty before you leave, and like remembering to prompt appropriately while you're out and about.
So much of that is on you as the caregiver, because your little tiny human doesn't know how to regulate that like they're playing, they get to doing things.
Or other sensations, like we took Cease had a preschool friend have a birthday party 2 to 3 weeks in.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, well, we're gonna go do it. It was rainy. There
were lots of little toddlers. Bowie was like playing at the table doing something, and then I'm like, there is pee on the floor.
That is our son's pee on the floor at the birthday party.
Yep, he was just so happy and playing, and we were, chatting and doing whatever, and that was again on us. Hey, should have taken him to the potty. Of course he had to pee. He's not going to pull himself away from this little water table to ask me to take him to the potty yet. And so
remember those outings. You're still training you.
Yes.
Remember, get him to the potty frequently.
Yep.
Prompt appropriately, but not too much.
And have, 3 spare changes of clothes in the early days.
Just in case. Have fun. Now, resistance at this time can often spring up with either prompting too much or prompting when they don't actually have to go to the bathroom. So try to really only prompt at those times when you know they need to go to the bathroom, and along with your usual routine timings, like before leaving the house, before and after nap time, bedtime, etc. And remember, you're not asking if they have to go. Right. You are calmly and firmly saying, hey, it's time to go to the potty now before we can go on to the next thing.
This finding the sweet spot on prompting versus asking is a really important tool and thing to work on. With Bo, he'd be playing, and sometimes I'd say, "Do you have to go potty? Do you need to go to the potty?" And he'd just be like, "No." And then he wouldn't go to the potty. And then in my mind,
very few words,
right?
But he had no,
Yes,
and the head shake.
yes, it was really quite adorable. But 10 minutes later, I know this kid needs to pee. And I'd say, "Bo, it's time to go potty. Do you want to use the little pink potty or the blue potty?" And he would walk over and pee. So more about prompting when you know it's an appropriate time, like enough time has passed. Great, now it is time. Offering a choice sometimes helps.
Yeah, having the 2 little potties was like kind of like a key little bonus.
And for him, he really, at the beginning, we tried to put him on the potty chair in the bathroom, like up, and he just did not like it. He was, I think, scared. He was totally unfamiliar with that. That was not going well, and the little potty was
where he's
kind
like
of
5 inches off the
a
ground.
game changer
He's
for him.
like feet
He
are
could
on the
walk
floor.
himself over it, and do that himself, and that was a real key for him. So a little bit of figuring your kid out.
And when you're hitting those resistances, trying to figure out why are they resisting? Is it fear of the potty? Is it they're resisting because they're a toddler and sometimes they just do that? And so is there environmental things you can change, or is it hey, you just need to hold that firm boundary?
Yes.
Sometimes it's a little bit of both.
And try to do things to give them control when you can.
Yeah.
By the time you're starting to feel pretty good about your outings with limited and rare accidents, you're probably, hopefully, somewhere around that month or so into the process. And it's time to think about adding underwear into the equation. For our daughter, she was going to preschool, and they were very, very excited for us to feel comfortable that we were at that point, so that she'd have underwear in case there was an accident. But for our son, we really delayed that step as he was doing totally fine without underwear, and we felt like it helped him to continue to solidify those good habits while further learning his body's signals that he needed to go.
Finally comes phase 5, where your child is routinely initiating those potty breaks on their own. Now, everything up until this point has really been making sure that you, as the care provider, were potty trained. But by now, with lots of practice, lots of positive reinforcement, your child has learned, hey, I need to go. I'm going to go now, and I'm going to go while sitting on the potty, putting my pee and poop in that potty where it belongs.
Things may still not be perfect at this stage, but this is where you finally feel like, oh, we have a potty trained toddler now. One key thing for this stage is that there is now much less prompting about having your kiddo go to the potty, but it's still okay to prompt them at times that make sense. You can and should still remind them, hey, you should go, it's time to go potty before we leave the house. We need to go potty before bed. We go to the potty right after nap, and any other times that make sense for your family.
After you have that self-initiating and potty-trained kiddo, comes a time for training around naps and overnight. Full disclosure here, we actually delayed this final stage quite a bit, but want to share that some experts have suggested it's important to complete this around-the-clock phase before your child turns 4 to avoid some long-term issues and difficulties.
And something she does talk about in the Oh Crap Potty Training book is you can do this at the same time you are kind of daytime training. You can do these simultaneously. We just trained our kids when they were littler, and so knew that they couldn't quite make it for those overnight stretches, and so said, okay, well, we've got to think about doing this before they're 3.5 or 4.
Yeah. Now, for nap times, our process ended up being simply just to keep having the routine be that they go potty before nap. And then as their bladder control and bladder reserve naturally developed with the rest of daytime training, they just stopped having wet diapers during nap time. And then the first stop after nap was to go to the potty.
Indeed. After we had a good string of days of dry naps, then we just stopped putting on diapers for nap time. Having said that, we know sometimes there's a struggle with a child who kind of realizes, oh, we're going to put a diaper on for nap time and then holding poop until the diaper's on. So for them, sometimes in these instances, it is better to drop that diaper during nap time sooner and do that nap training then.
Yeah, and it can also be like a good time to just like realize that it's okay to set a firm boundary before nap time. Hey, we go potty before nap time.
Yep.
We're not leaving the bathroom until we get there.
Yes. For nighttime, it really comes down to learning what time of the night your kiddo pees and then waking them up before that to take them to the potty. And then as you learn that nighttime schedule, you kind of slowly back that middle of the night potty break until they're making it through the night.
And know that you're going to have nighttime accidents.
Yes.
Nighttime training is tricky and it takes a lot of time.
Yes.
Get a good pee-proof sheet to
Yes.
protect the mattress and a couple of extra sheets to make kind of midnight changes
Quick and easy.
quickly. And I will say, as a pediatrician, it is very normal to have bedwetting in the middle of the night up to the age of 5, and so don't feel like your child's really delayed if they're wetting the bed at 3 or 4. Okay, so hopefully all of that is just what you need to feel confident in getting started. At the end of the day, the biggest thing is be consistent,
Yes.
be positive.
You can do it.
And you can do it.
Yes.
We're going to also do an extra episode.
Yes, with some of the scripting that is helpful in the language, favorite books, some other things and troubleshooting tips that we think might be helpful. And we'll get that up here soon.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
See you next week.
We're doctors.
But not your doctors.
Anything we've said in this video is for education or entertainment purposes only.
It is not medical advice.
Any specific medical questions you have should be directed to your provider.